Hey guys, it's Corey from Unified Masters. I wanted to hop on just to do a little update, kind of see what comes through, pull through some threads as well, and some codes in sharing. We are about to pack up. Actually, we are in New Mexico, in Tucumcari, New Mexico. I'm about to pack up and travel for about three. I think we got 300 miles that we got to put in today. So it's going to be a long trek. So I figured I'd get some creation in while I have a little bit of energy to do so, because this journey definitely has been interesting to say the least. Really adjusting to kind of a quote unquote linear life while trying to coexist in quantum states, and how the fast paced go, 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 at least for this leg of the journey, has proved to have its challenges as we try to adapt to honoring the energy body, honoring the physical body, honoring our emotions, and to still continually focus on deprogramming, focus on what is popping up for us as we are traveling on the road. It's very easy to go unconscious when you're on the road. Especially so we're in a 1978 RV. So with it comes its quirks, and it's just like entering into a new relationship. When you hop into an RV like this, you're kind of like, what are we to expect? What's going to occur? And a lot of it is for us has been releasing expectation, and then knowing that deep down inside, from within, will arrive the answer for whatever is occurring. There's been some mechanical issues with it, and I'm not a mechanic, but luckily we are traveling with my family, and my father is definitely more on the mechanic side and has been that way his whole life. So it's been a pleasure and a joy traveling through that and releasing that fear and that worry, and then recognizing too that it's in my bloodline, to have that genetic makeup to be able to fix things. And so a lot of that too has been, working with him and activating that confidence and that trust within, and really following my intuition with an RV of what could be potentially going wrong, or what's occurring. So it's been definitely interesting, living this way. And it is an adjustment, but for us, it's a really beautiful time to step into our inner alchemy, and taking this beautiful home and turning it into our piece of gold, and allowing that home space that we found within the heart and that we continually find through the soul union, through the higher self embodiment, through opening up more and working with the heart space on how the home within can be reflected without, and how this can serve as like a fingerprint or a representation of who we are, who we really are, and being able to allow that to reflect back to us all that we are. And so it's been an interesting journey. The biggest thing for us has been that through like these gateways, like yesterday, we couldn't honor 11:11 like we normally do. I normally do for any of those big passageways, I will do like a group session, or I'll do a ceremony of some kind, or if I don't come online and do a ceremony, I do my own ceremony. And so being on the road traveling through that, and through these times, has proven to be interesting, because our focus isn't so much, or I'll say my focus isn't so much what's going on energetically. It's like, how do we get to the next place? Where do we stop to get gas? What's going on with the RV? The focus has been so much more on the experience, on the grounded experience, versus what's going on energetically and code wise. The other thing too was so we left Minnesota about, gosh, maybe 5-6 days ago. I'm losing track. The days just kind of all blend together. But through our last leg of Minnesota was really doing a lot of grid work with the land, and through the spaces and places that we were moving through, is working through the grids, and is working through the different imprints that are held on the land, and a lot of the focal point being on freedom, of course. This trek for us has been about embodying freedom. And I actually have a video that I recorded maybe a month ago now, about embodying freedom. And I never got to post it because the land that we were on, I just didn't have good internet connection. It wasn't allowing me to post. So I'll probably post that video after this, to speak more about embodying freedom, what our leg of the journey is. And a lot of this has been for me recognizing that in different stages and phases of my journey, I serve different roles. And so a lot of this leg of the journey for me is how do I embody freedom and then share those codes, with everyone that I encounter in my day to day, and how do I transmit that freedom, to others. Through this lockdown and through this collective reset, our part, and I'll say my part, has definitely been on being a counterbalance of, like, when everyone's locked down, like the universe is telling me it's time for me to move. When everyone is in, it's like, it's a lot of that once again, at bringing in the balance. So when we have a lot of people that are in that feeling stuck, feeling frightened and fearful, a lot of my, callings have been, okay, break through that and embody the freedom through this, for not only my own trajectory and my own ability, but recognizing that I'm the creator of my own reality, and that no one can essentially tell me what to do, and how to live my life. And a lot of this has come into now the thread of the rebellious teenager, and a lot of healing that wound, and I won't say healing, but radically accepting, what my journey has been, as being like a starseed, being kind of anti-system, being more moving against the grain, being a wild horse. So a lot of this has been accepting that, and abiding in some ways, like beginning to recycle back into that aspect of me, of that teenager that wanted to stand up and rebel and to speak up and to speak out. But a lot of that came with a fight narrative too. So a lot of it is, in some ways, it's kind of quote unquote conforming, but not conforming to the sense that I'm playing the game, but it's conforming in order to allow myself to still, exist in a way that doesn't keep pushing me out or knocking me out of realities. So back to the freedom embodiment, for us has been, it's now, it's been definitely a test, because with it brings its challenges. We don't have our opportunity to just step into the being stage, and to quote unquote rest, and to honor the light body, 100% of the time. Now, granted, we definitely could say no to a lot of the plans and the experience that we're calling forward, and just go our own way and really, really take our time. But for us to get to Arizona, and in the fashion of being able to make sure I have a mechanic nearby, with my father, and being able to connect with my family more, it is required us to kind of just push through a lot of different things. But as a result of that too comes, an acceleration of lessons, an acceleration of growth, and moving through timelines and passageways really, really quickly. So when we started to feel the acceleration, it was back in, I think it was like late September, early October, we decided to start accelerating our timelines. And as a result of that, it can be very tiring with the amount of stuff that you have to experience, in order to push through. So essentially, we're pushing through, 5 to 10 years of lessons in a very, very small amount of time. And so with that comes great expansion and growth, but also a feeling at times of, like, almost a, I don't want to say it's a struggle narrative, but it can come across that way. You're like, why is this happening for me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this occurring right now? Well, another thing too is that we are accessing a new reality and a new way of living. So with it comes its lessons as well. So, but with that, we're able to push through, timelines a lot quicker. But with that, of course, comes the need to rest, and the need to honor the body, and the need to honor, ourselves, and what we're calling forward. So a lot of this trip has been feeling like very disconnected, especially with the level of grid work we were doing for a while. I was working with the land spot in Minnesota, and then on our way through, I think it was when we got to Texas, that the grid work kind of stopped for a little while. So a lot of that now is like resting from all that passageways of freedom that we were pushing through, and and a lot of that requires me to kind of like just be grounded, not really paying attention to what's going on energetically, because it was a really it was a heavy passageway doing all of that grid work. And a lot of it, once again, back to the freedom, was clearing up a lot of what's occurred with the Native American people, with their land getting stolen, um, a lot of manipulation and narcissistic abuse threads that have come from settlers over here that were stealing land, controlling and manipulating people. A lot of dealing with the food industry too. So dealing with the hybridization of the genetics of like corn, for instance, and seeing into those threads and how it is all affected. A lot of World War II threads as well. So a lot of the colonization of, especially in Minnesota, there was a heavy colonization of German and Polish people that had pushed out essentially the Sioux and the Dakota tribes from that area. So a lot of that was feeling into that, feeling those imprints, seeing the nasty things that have occurred, and as a result making peace with that and knowing that we can walk away from those places and those spaces in freedom and in love. And with that came a very empowered feeling, with a feeling of being able to walk away from karmic situations, being able to walk away from really nasty energetics that have been occurring for a long time, and knowing that we're walking away in freedom and in love was very empowering. But a lot of it too was having to have this framework of mind and of heart saying, just don't look back, like close the door and just keep moving forward. And a lot of the individuals that I encountered in this last few months of my journey, I don't think they fully recognize all of the situations that were encountered, through staying in certain places, and also the insight that I got about what was occurring energetically there. And we cleared up as much as we could, and then it's just time to go, doing our part, bringing in the codes, anchoring the light, and then going. And it's definitely an interesting part of the journey, doing the grid work, and doing the site work, and clearing all this karmic stuff, because especially from the land and from my own individual body, is because it's something that I don't mention a lot, but it can really wear on you, seeing and feeling and knowing these things. But with it comes a great opportunity to expand and to embody freedom, and to be able to bring peace and love back to the tribes, back to the area, and back to not just the tribes, the individuals that have gone through these experiences. Being able to clear up ancestral wounding, being able to allow the waywards and the people spirits that are still stuck on that land, that are landlocked, providing them freedom, anchoring them, providing a bridge into being able to cross over if they so choose to, and being able to give them the hope to know that those narratives are unraveling and are unweaving, and with that we'll be able to find greater peace and harmony in the unified collective, and amongst all parties, all races, all spaces, places, and times. So with that has come its own level of, I guess you could say, quote unquote, difficulty and learning experience. But with it comes this really this beautiful feeling that we've landed in this time where those old threads and those old narratives and timelines that we're collapsing, moment to moment, every nanosecond of the day, are providing us more room for freedom, and to just say no more to that old way of living, saying no to the old controls and the manipulation. But as a result of that, it requires us to deprogram those threads from within us as well. So the cellular releasing and the physical body clearing all of this stuff has been very testing and trying on us. And so for that, it requires a higher level of self-care, and nutrition. Even though for me, when I'm on the road, it's like coffee, donuts, and cigarettes. That's and junk food. It's like, okay, where's the next Whataburger? Eating like complete crap. And so with that, it comes it's learning and lessons of really having to double down on the self-care, having to double down on really, taking care of ourselves, taking care of the soul. A lot of soul work too that's been having to go on. Right now is a big thread of the inner child work. And so with that, it's providing the safety and comfort for the inner child to birth through, which is the master self. I've grown to learn that the magic and the mastery is actually held in the inner child. So a lot of that is bringing that through and providing that nourishment and that love to the inner child as we're going through this experience, to become self-sourcing again. And when I get more insight on self-sourcing, I'm actually going to do a video about that, because it's really been a theme for at least Sam and I in our relationship, but also in dissolving the threads of dependency that can occur, especially for people that have experienced lessons and journeys that can prove traumatic, especially for myself. How it is that I can become self-sourcing and self-nourishing in order to provide for myself the frequencies that I'm looking for in others, or the comfort and the support, which kind of ties off into the thread of obsession that I talked about in an earlier video. So, this lifestyle definitely proves, it's built, all the information that we find from other people has been proven more of, linear. It's, get up, get on the road for a certain time, drive this many miles, and then when you stop, you get there and you set up, and then you eat and you rest. It's very cyclical. And so for us, we're finding that we jumped into it, with a linear perspective, especially as it was been blueprinted by my own family and blueprinted by other people. And so now it's okay, how can we begin to inject the quantum states of living into a very linear lifestyle, and how can we begin to provide that information and blueprint that to other people? Because many people are getting that kind of van life, RV, beyond the open road style of living, especially being a light worker. We found that recently we've been running into more light workers that have gotten that call to embody this freedom. And through our movement and momentum and motion across the country, we're providing other people to do the same, to live more of a nomadic life. But with that, we're also anchoring the codes in different areas. And so with that, we really get to take, it's like the grand movement of the crystals are moving around the grid, so we can land in those next anchor points to bring in the codes that we need to do, especially as we are working with so much of the freedom here in the United States, working with the crystalline corridor, bridging, the Lemurian and Atlantean lines, and calling that and bringing that forward. This is a big unification piece too, of really bringing forth the liberation codes from Europe, and the freedom, the peace codes, and bringing those to all the different places that they need to go. As a result of that, for us, has been that, sometimes we're not landing in fairy tale land. Sometimes we're landing in those places that have been more deserted, the places that haven't been taken care of. And as a result, we're there to be as the energetic cornerstone to assist in clearing and in anchoring what needs to be cleared up there and repairing the grids. And so with that, the interesting part about grid work is you don't get a paycheck for doing grid work. When you're doing code keeping, you don't get a paycheck. It requires a lot of staying offline, pulling in that energy, and then doubling down on the self-care too, as you begin to activate these different strands of new earth awareness and higher dimensional consciousness within you. The dissolution of the old paradigm programming within the physical structure, within the energetic structure, and the new templating systems provides a lot of just being down, keeping to yourself, clearing out the programming while you can, so then when you go walk into the reality or face other people, you're not facing discord, you're not facing disharmony. You're finding a more congruent reality that is filled with the love and the light that you exude as a result of the energy work that you're doing. And so, yeah, it's definitely an adjustment, but it really is something that we called forward and we really, really have wanted. So with it comes the uncomfortability of stepping into this new trajectory and how to make it work, especially in a 1978 RV. But it is an oldie and a goodie. And the more that we get under the hood and looking at the frame, it's actually built very well and it was well taken care of. It's just got a few little quirks, and we called it the Honey Bucket, and I've officially named it Harvey the RV. So, and Harvey, even though it's a man's name, it's a little androgynous. So sometimes she's a she, sometimes he's a he. And it's funny, as we started to kind of create this level of consciousness with the RV, we find that when we talk to it, it purrs a little more. It works with us now. It's such a, it's funny. It's very on and off and it's intermittent. So with that, it's you don't know what you're going to walk into when you wake up in the morning and you get everything set up and start up. You're like, okay, please, let's start. Let's get to our destination. Let's get to where we need to go. But it brings its humor and kind of like comedic relief as so we consciously choose to be able to change our perspective and our mindset. And with that, a big theme here has been the perspective and the mindset coming into this. So it's been, here's a great kind of analogy that I give to people. It's that if you look at an empty dirt lot, you have a choice on the perspective to either see it as an empty dirt lot or you see it as fertile soil in order to grow your garden. And so a lot of this has been, how do I take the higher consciousness approach with my viewpoint on the reality and the viewpoint on our situation? And where can we start to harness this inner alchemist and this inner creator in order to transform this beautiful piece of art that we are living in? And so that's been the key theme for Samantha and I, in really making sure that we are planting that seed every day is, okay, in which ways can we expand this? In what ways can we make it more ours? Because you can feel very displaced. You're waking up in a different place every day. You're traveling in unseen territory. You're driving something that you don't really know. And some days it's super reliable, some days it isn't. So in what ways can we make this home? How can we make this fixer-upper home? And so for us, it's like making sure that we are putting our energetic imprint in it, but we are also, self-soothing, self-nourishing, and self-loving, because then we can reflect that outward into our travels and reflect that into this beautiful art piece that we are in. And a lot of it is being able to take a multidimensional perspective and widen the lens and the scope of what our capabilities are, in order to bring forward those inner creators that have always wanted to do something like this. And I think that's been the beautiful piece, is that, with Samantha and I, we both have this artistic component that's being birthed through this experience. For her, it's painting. And for her, it's the art. For me, it's been bringing forward my musicianship more. But, salud. And so as a result, it's salud. Sorry, she's sneezing up there in the bed. How do I access my greater creator within this to be able to turn this into something beautiful? Because a lot of recognizing what we were stepping into with the financial situation that we were in, and all the wonderful donations and proceeds that came through to be able to assist in purchasing this RV. Salud. I want to thank everyone that supported our GoFundMe and continually supports us. But as a result, it's like with the financial situation that we were in and the monies that we had in order to purchase this, we knew that we weren't going to walk into, this really grand, beautiful, $150,000 RV. So as a result, we now get to access our ability to like recycle and to recreate, stepping into that like fairy energy of embedding magic within this vehicle. And so as a result, it's really cool because for us, we have this fresh canvas. And we're like, how are we gonna create this in our own way and make this experience? How are we gonna make this experience our own and recognize that we're on the journey, we're on the ride home, and so how can we greater make this feel like home, but also turn it into kind of this piece of art for ourselves, so then it reflects outward. And I'm not just speaking physically, I'm speaking energetically. Like, how can we find magic in everything that we're doing, in the subtleties of the experience? Because in the grand scope, depending on the perspective we have, we could see a lot of struggle and a lot of heartbreak and a lot of setback, or we can consciously look for the magic in that experience and begin to expand on the magic that is being created every single now moment. And so for us, it's very subtle. There's these moments where we've had a few travel experiences where there's been great magic, and it's like, wow, this aha moment, super synchronistic. And in other moments, it's very subtle. And so a lot of it is that, and this is just how it's occurring on the collective stage right now, through the elections, through what we're occurring, at least here in the United States, and what we're feeling energetically. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of division. There's a lot of heartbreak and a lot of heartache. But then, with that, it's in those subtleties. How do you find, well, in that greater experience of The word that's coming through is kind of being bolded or outlined in the reality. How can we find the subtleties of magic and begin to expand on that so we can amplify into our reality and we can share that with every individual we have? How can we share the divine experience with people that might not be feeling so divine right now? How do I see the spark of creation that is the individuation of source within every individual that I encounter, even into what we would speak of as the unawakened collective? How can we begin to view each other in this relationship as something that is divine when it doesn't feel divine at times because of where we're at in the state of fight or flight with traveling, dealing with strong headwinds and the RV is rocking back and forth, a tough time keeping it on the road. In those moments are the greatest tests to stay heart-centered and to keep our heart open and to stay aligned. And so with that, especially as we are not, or I am not focusing so much on what's going on energetically, and I don't have as much time to practice energetic self-care, how can I remain aligned within the higher consciousness that exists within me and in my knowing from the lessons that I've had in my life? So a lot of this is pulling this consciousness from within, activating it, through a space of just deep knowing versus pulling it as something outside of me or something that I can do. I don't know how else to explain it. It's a feeling thing, because there's those times where, for us, I've felt very disconnected. I'm like, I'm not, I can't really hear my soul too well. I'm not feeling a lot of things occurring energetically. I'm not able to step into quantum states through rest and through sacred rest to be able to pull in information and codes and really being able to go into a meditative state and live in that dream state 24/7. So then it's like a lot of it is now accessing the deep knowing that I already have within, that's already been activated, and applying that into my reality. So that's been a lesson too, is, when I'm feeling disconnected or when I'm feeling like I'm not in that connection point of a really deep divine flow and deep divine orchestration, how can I still see through the eyes of beauty and through the eyes of love, but also birth this higher consciousness from within? So, a lot of this has been no longer being able to pull from outside, but recognizing this exists within, and how can I call it forward and through when I'm in a situation that might not be as heart-centered or heart experienced, or I'm not around a majority of very conscious people that can assist in holding that space for me to keep my vibration high. So once again, coming back to the self-sourcing, it's been really self-sourcing, taking that time for myself to create that space. If, I'm clearing a bunch of stuff or Sam's clearing stuff, healthy communication, being like, hey, I need space right now, or, I'm going through it right now. There's some grid work going on that's very, very strenuous on me, and I need to push through. But also leaning on the purified collective of individuals that I have in my reality to speak to about, situations and threads going on. Speaking about the codes and what we're encountering grid work wise. A lot of this is, contacting people for just a little bit of humor, having a nice laugh. And beautifully enough, we've built up this tribe of people that are really supportive and loving in that way. And we also have some tribe right now that aren't so loving and supportive because they're going through their own stuff in the reality. So a lot of this too has been, okay, if two or more people are going through kind of a squeeze point in the reality, making sure to set healthy boundaries to be able to not communicate during that time, especially if we're going to begin to fight or attack or begin to take it out on one another. Because at the end of the day, when we are feeling stressed on our reality and we begin to take it out on other people, what I hear is an inner child whose needs aren't being met. And as a result, it's coming out into being able to start taking out on other people in the reality. And I've done this many times, as an unawakened and an awakened individual, I've done it. And I just recognize that it's my inner child saying, hey, I have some needs that need to be met and they can't be met right now. And sometimes we can't meet those needs because we have a linear schedule that we have to stick to and we have things we need to get done. And it's understandable. But for me, I found that if there's that 5 or 10 minutes, or even in the morning when I wake up in the morning, being able to reconnect back into all that I am, opening up my heart, listening to my soul, grounding into my passion and my purpose, taking a moment to go outside and to breathe in the air, to watch the sunrise, which has been beautiful, Moments like that help me to reconnect, and then it creates this beautiful, loving foundation for the day in which I can go experience the reality from this space of peace, from this space of love. And then when I encounter something that knocks me out of my love, I return back to center, to the greatest level and degree that I can. Open up my heart wider when I can. And it can be, it's something that we can't necessarily do sometimes when we're driving. And so it's learning to practice, like, okay, so this is what I have at my disposal, because of my current situation and my reality. How can I begin to reshape and reformat the tools that I have built within me, in order to blueprint this experience for myself, where I can live the purpose that I want to live, where I can be free and travel, or I can work, but I could still stay heart-centered and centered, free of excuses of stating that I can't. Because in the I can'ts, we're actually limiting ourselves. And so a lot of this has been taking a step back to be able to take a wider scope and lens on our experience, opening our heart and going, what's a new way that I can do this? Because best believe when you blueprint that for yourself, it will come back to where you can assist others who are trying to live that same experience, especially when it comes to building projects, when it comes to things like this with freedom, and living on the road, living a nomadic life. A lot of it is that there's not a lot of, that I found at least, energetic tools, or other tools that I found readily available in order to live a super conscious and healthy lifestyle for the energy body, for the light body, while driving 12, 13 hours a day. So a lot of this is a discovery lesson within us, and going, okay, I've got this toolkit. How can I begin to reshape my tools, to fit the format of my reality, so I can experience the highest trajectory as I'm going through what I'm going through, but also keeping my discernment up, and staying aware and conscious of my my connections, and staying conscious and aware of my relationships, so I don't distort, or I don't end up cycling myself back into a lower reality to experience something because of one interaction. A lot of it is difficult, and a learning lesson, to say the least, on how to navigate these waters. But it is beautiful. It's a beautiful journey. It really, truly is. And yes, it has its kind of, I guess, I don't want to say the word hardships, but it has its lessons and its growth potential as a result of it, and its learning. And so with that, we just have to keep walking forward, and remain teachable, remain open to the experience. Going, okay, universe within me, I see that I have an opportunity to learn here, and I have an opportunity to transform. How can I, greater optimize this experience? How can I optimize my reality? How can I engage with this from a new perspective? How can I see this from a place of gratitude, where I'm breathing and I'm saying, thank you, universe, for providing me the opportunity to feel this, or providing me the opportunity to be here. Thank you, universe, for giving me the opportunity to be able to wrap up some lessons, or to close out some realities, for giving me the opportunity to see what's going on within my own field and within my own body and my own being, to where I can begin to dissolve it and become more aligned and congruent within myself. It's thanking it's thanking ourselves, the universe within, for providing us an opportunity to see clearly, especially as the veils drop more and more and more, to be able to know more about ourselves, and about the nature of reality, or about our existence, or about our life journey and our life path. It's being able to thank the universe within, to be able to give us the opportunity to feel all that we need to feel in order to come back into greater wholeness and greater union within. So with that, thank you guys so much for being here, for supporting us continually. Once we get settled in Arizona, things will probably stabilize a bit. We are work camping, so we are working a very limited time during the week to pay for our place and space in Arizona. So more sessions will be popping up, more group sessions. I've got a lot of people to catch up with that want sessions. And so if you've paid for a session and and we haven't been in contact recently, I want to let you know I will be contacting you soon. A lot of this is, we can't plan anything right now until we really hunker down in our next spot. And then we can start to make plans. We don't even know what our hours are of working. So a lot of this is stepping into the unknown with faith, and knowing that it'll align as it's supposed to. and that I will be getting to people with sessions. And there is kind of like a wait list right now. So if you do want a session, please reach out. You can also go to unifiedmasters.com to see what sessions I have available. I do have donation sessions open if you cannot afford the full hour or 2 hour sessions. So please, you can also reach out to me, unifiedmasters@gmail.com. Yeah, that's about it, guys. That's about it. If you would like to donate, if my content has helped you in some way, shape, or form, and you'd like to donate, there's a link for my PayPal link in the description box, and I invite you if you want to send out a donation. Not necessary, but I always like to keep it out there because I found that it, well, first off, the donations really help us to be able to get ourselves like a good meal, to get ourselves a few pieces of clothing, or to be able to buy some supplements for ourselves. It really does, it helps out so much. I found that there are these wonderful, beautiful people in this community that have donated at times when we really needed it, and it really assisted us in being able to take a deep breath. And so, that $5 or $10 donation that people send, if you don't think it's enough money, you never know when that can save other people. And we always pay it forward too. When we're on the road and we see someone who's struggling or homeless, we give them money. We also donate to other light workers as well. So we like to keep that abundance flowing forward. And it really does assist more than many people recognize. And, at the end of the day, to come into this, I wish that we were living in a reality where we could do all of this for free. But unfortunately, we still have a monetary system, and it's just energy. And so as a result of conscious exchange and balance, we use that as a tool to be able to feed our New Earth realities, and we feed that back into New Earth. There's a lot of money that's been donated to people that are doing beautiful things that we don't really talk about because it's not a portion of, I come from a place of humility, and I don't share everything that we give to other people and assist with. And that's not coming from a place of cockiness or anything like that. It's knowing that, because we've ran into a few times recently, I know Samantha has, with getting barked at about asking for money in exchange for services. And I'll do a whole video on that later. I'm not going to do that right now because I want to wrap this up. But it does help. And that energy that we put out into our creations and we give to other people, online and offline, in the light and not being seen by other people, when that comes back, we keep pushing that forward, and it assists us in being able to keep putting out content when we have our go windows to do so. And so with that, I have a go window now to pack this thing up and to hit the road. So I love you all. Much love and respect to everyone out there. If you haven't, click subscribe, click the like button. I'm not really one for algorithms, but it does assist. And I want to thank you all for your continued support, for your loving messages. I've gotten some really beautiful emails from people over the past little bit of time, and I want to thank you all. I want to let you know I see you, and that I do love you unconditionally, and I just can't wait to see what this next everything brings for myself individually, but for you as well. And I ask you to just keep holding on to the faith that everything that's happening for you right now is for your highest good, individually and collectively, and to honor the experience at hand for all individuals, and to allow the people to make their choices, to land in their trajectories, to go through their lessons and growth that they need to go to for their highest good. So whether it means that they choose to live in a more of a 3D reality, to go through that experience, to learn, to grow, to shed, and to deprogram, or they're on their way flying upward into the 5D plus realities where it's all bliss and magic, wherever that individual is it's perfect for them and what they need and what they're calling forward on their path, so they can become the best version of themselves. They can become their higher self again and walk forward in that embodiment with faith and love. And so, there's been a lot of choice points lately, and a lot of people are making decisions on what experience they're going to be having over the next little bit of time. And so, the thing is that experience is catered and perfect for them because of what they need to go through. And so as a result, sometimes we just have to step back and go, okay, that's the experience you need to have right now. And I love you unconditionally, but from a distance, I have to allow you to just kind of go through that while we make our way and our pathway into whatever reality we choose. You know, this is a part of the bifurcation, and it's a part of the experience that we have, is weaving our threads of light in and out of realities and in and out of situations and relationships to activate a certain frequency within, to come into a greater level of understanding and wholeness, and then being able to part ways. And you know, it's a beautiful part of the experience, but it can be heartbreaking at times. And I know this is happening for a lot of people. So keep honoring you and your journey in your path, and keep sharing that love and light, that life force that you hold within with other people. And stay in your love, stay in your freedom, stay in your joy, and it will bring about great levels of abundance to you. And not just financially, because abundance isn't just financial, but greater love, a more aligned reality, a more aligned experience, more magic, more bliss, more harmony, and more joy. And I invite you to activate those frequencies within as I activate them within me, and go see forth that when I look into the reality, that I find the subtleties of the magic that it brings forward to me. And I keep expanding on that and allow my entire reality to be magical again, in a state of remembrance and deep knowing. So much love and respect to all of you out there. I love you all conditionally. And with that, I will see you in another moment of the now. Namaste.